All right. So now I need to talk about Washington, D.C. And let's talk about what happened there, because there is a lot to go over. And I mean a lot. And at the same time, a little, kind of. So, this is going to be the story about how a lot of assumptions and a lot of information that turned out to be misinfo or otherwise ended up, well, shaping a lot of decisions, actually. Cyganders has dropped the stream on my end. I apologize. It should be up, but if it's not, it's just being stupid. So, let's go ahead and go back in time about a month and a half, maybe 2 months. I'm not sure on the exactsies on when it happened, but we found out that Trump was going to be having a military parade. The military parade was going to happen ostensibly for the birthday of the army, but it was happening specifically on Trump's birthday, and it was definitely going to be used as a celebration of his birthday. So you mean the parade he ordered off Temu? Yeah. Let me show you the first image that I saw in regards to this. Americans, unite and block the Trump birthday military parade on June 14th. Now, what does that look like to you? Because to me, that looks like a bunch of people are going to be standing in a crowd trying to prevent the military parade from doing its thing, starting a spectacle. A spectacle starts a media frenzy. And a media frenzy that is started from a spectacle starts a conversation. And that springboarded conversation can get people politically activated. Okay, I'm all on board. A protest serves one of two purposes. Purpose number one, unite people who have a shared grievance so that they can engage in further political action. Purpose number two, when possible, stir up enough of a media frenzy that you can start to activate previously unactivated would-be political actors. This seemed like a way to serve both of those purposes. Okay. Everything seems basically perfect for this. Let's go ahead and get ready to go to a protest. So, as with the Florida protest, I asked my audience to help fund me going over to Washington, D.C. I had not been directly in D.C. before, so this, of course, would be an adventure for me. But more than anything, this would be something that I believe would be an important cause. So, let's go ahead and go and see what happens. Now, shortly after this, I hear word of something called the No Kings protest. Knowing that there was going to be a group of people who attempted to block the parade, I assumed, okay, No Kings protest, blocking the parade. This makes perfect sense. I later find out that No Kings is actually a set of protests that are happening all around everywhere except DC in order to generate larger crowds than what Trump can generate, so as to try to humiliate him. Sure, why not? You did get people talking in the media. I guess you kind of did what you needed to do. This is where I'm going to go ahead and give a bit of a sidebar. My problem with the No Kings protest largely is I feel like there's going to be people who say, yes, the goal was humiliating Trump, and then we did that, and then we succeeded. No, you succeeded at nothing. The goal of a protest is to either stir up enough media frenzy to politically activate people, or to take people and put them together so that they have a moment of shared grievance and can then engage in further political action. if instead you go to a protest and then you think, yes, I did the thing, then you have failed. The point of a protest is not the protest. The protest is step one. It should be your springboard to further political action. Instead, the conversation I've been seeing in regards to No Kings has seemed a little bit like people have been using it as a way to not engage in further political action. And that bothers me on a deep personal level. I hope you guys know. So, cool. No Kings is not the protest that I'm going to, though I thought that that was the protest that I was going to. And the Americans Unite and Block the Trump Birthday Parade seems to be its own separate thing. Then, as I am on my way up to the event specifically, as I am on my way there, I am given a couple of warnings. Warning number one, apparently there are Proud Boys and agitators who are going to try to incite violence at various protests in order to make the left look bad. The counter strategy to this would be for the protesters to sit down if violence were to happen in order to signal that they are not the ones engaging in the violence. I have my own opinions on all of this. Those opinions are not for this video. So, this is, as so far as we can get, a linear timeline. That's one warning that I get. The next warning that I get is about a parallel protest that will be happening in the area from a different organization. Okay, fair enough. No information, however, on this protest. Apparently, there is no information on this protest. I did a reverse image search for this image, and I found various Facebook posts about it, but I never found a single organization that was actually putting this forward. No single organization means no organizer. No organizer means no actual protest. Just an image conjured up and thrown out onto the internet. And for what end? People in chat are saying for bait, and I kind of agree. I could put the tinfoil hat on and say something about controlled opposition, but realistically, the end result seems to be just bait. Now, was it bait from somebody on the left wanting to make that spectacle because they see that protest is a useful tool? Or was it from the right, from somebody who wanted to see leftists get hurt and or humiliated? Whichever one it is, I don't think I'll ever know. So, fast forward to DC. I stay at a friend's house in DC, which is very good, considering that apparently all the food in DC is so goddamn expensive. Holy fucking shit. Like, obviously eating on the road is expensive in its own right, but Jesus Christ. $15, $18 for a hamburger? Holy fucking shit. How do you guys survive there? I do not understand. Anyway, I'm in DC. I take the metro station over to, well, near Pennsylvania Avenue, where I'm supposed to be for this. And there's a couple things that I notice while I'm here. Let me go ahead and pull these up because these are kind of wild to me. These are a couple of videos, and I'm just going to rip them out of my conversation with Squid Tips because, well, that's going to be way easier than doing anything else. So, apologies, I got to reveal DMs for like a half a second so I can show this up. But I decided to go ahead and start filming various things before I started streaming, because I saw a bunch of Trump vendors. But do you notice something weird being in the middle of Washington, D.C., with a big Trump vendor on Trump's birthday, literally a couple tens of feet from the White House? Do you see something that's not there? Nobody's wearing MAGA hats. There's no customers. Nothing. Nothing. And then, you know, we start looking at some other footage from other vendors in the area, because there's a lot of these guys. There's just nobody even mildly interested. But there's a lot of merch. A lot of merch attempting to be sold for this big event. God, these guys are so enthusiastic about selling it. Not really. Not really. Now, this woman right here may be the one woman in a MAGA hat, but I'm not 100% certain if it is, but that looks like an American flag there, so I'm going to assume that that was my first MAGA hat in the wild during all of this. That's about it. Viewer Dave says, I bet those aren't normally there. I bet they were wanting to capitalize on the tourists in the parade. Oh, I promise you they were. I promise you they were. Go here. This is when I started my stream. And we're going to keep volume down because otherwise you get this audio the entire time. And I don't know if that's really the best viewing experience for anybody. So we've got more of these vendors, more of these Trump vendors. Actually, this may be the same vendor from before. I think I had walked in a circle at one point. Yeah, these are the same vendors from before. These are the same vendors from before. Cool. Then I met this lady. Here, let's actually turn on volume for this, see how much of this can actually be heard.
It's too late in a few months. Commander Burns is trying himself a military parade. Clock, clock! I just noticed it's a taco. Yeah.
So this woman is wearing watermelon, taco hat. Why didn't Trump's mother swallow?
I really love your shirt, I've got to say. I know, right?
My sixth annual wearing. I made it. 6 years? 6 years. I didn't think I would still be having to wear it.
And then a big sign saying Commander Bone Spurs.
When we were protesting back then. Well, you got all the symbols. You got the watermelon.
All hail Commander Bone Spurs.
They're just barraging us with bullshit, so you had to fight. The thing is, I'm an immigrant. You hear I have an accent from my original shithole country. It's Trinidad and Tobago. I'm fighting for myself. Huh? Arima, yes, I'm from Tunapuna. Right, I'm from Tunapuna, which is the major town between...
So we've got a handful of people out here. We have a handful of people out here who are here basically to protest the parade, but very, very scattered around. So, neato stuff so far. All seem like pretty good people. Hey, look, there's a shot of me. What the fuck was I saying here? Not that I want to hear my own voice.
I am very, very lucky. Blitzkrieg, who's in the chat right now.
Okay, that was just talking with chat stuff. Nothing major going on there. So, let's fast forward a little bit more. There's obviously more of the Trump paraphernalia being sold over there. But fast forward to right here. Here is one of the check-in stations for the White House. The entirety of this area is gated off. There is no way through any of this. Police gates everywhere. And I run a whole circle around this and find more of these gates. Just a bunch of these gates. Here. Let's see what it looks like when I circle around a bit. Circle past some of those food trucks, and there we are. There's the beginning of the other gates on the other side of the buildings. This big fence around areas of the White House. It is all gated up with concrete blocks behind. They do not want anyone getting in. So, fast forward a little bit. That was just me reading one of the signs there. So much fencing everywhere. And then, yeah, Trump must go now. Great sign. Appreciate the message. And then I met this guy, Eli. Let's see if he can be heard.
The violence, if it means protecting my community. My community here in DC has protected me over the last 2 years as I have been homeless. I have been on the streets. I have been without a job. And this community that they are trying to demonize and call evil and call that we want violence. We don't want violence. But if you come to us, we're going to defend ourselves. And that is how the American Revolution started. And I suspect we're going to have a second one. And you bet I will be out here, get my face on video. I will be out here in front of this White House, making sure that every single fascist knows that we are going to stand up and we're going to fight back. And if it means a brick through a cop window, then so be it. So be it. So be it.
And you won't have to because the cops are breaking their own windows and trying to put it on. Yeah.
And now he tries to light a little plastic American flag on fire, and it's not super successful at it because it doesn't catch fire super well, and it was windy and it was humid. But I understand the sentiment.
So fuck this. As long as that's what it represents, fuck this shit.
Plastic does not catch fire very easy. It just kind of melts due to the heat.
Makes sense. Hey, it sends a message.
Okay.
Yeah.
Completely.
So then I asked him if he'd be okay with chatting with me for a little bit. So here's that conversation.
Completely.
Yeah, I've been doxxed twice by Zionists.
Fair enough.
I wrote this book. It's about the fall of America to corporations. I wrote this in
This is a woman who had a book that she has published
Deborah, Eli,
that she wanted to give.
do you live here in DC?
I live in Arlington.
Hey, look, there's my bald spot.
Nearby?
It made a cameo.
Can we just switch real
By all
quick?
means. Well, by all means. Here.
Yes. I was looking for someone with the blank, and you are someone with the blank to get my question.
American Hip Hop Duo for
I mean, I got a little blister in my thumb from the flame.
Are you fine showing the book on the camera as well? Called Sapiens, The Moment Is Now.
Yeah. But yeah, I wrote it. I wrote about all nation states falling. The U.S. was the last to go. I got it wrong. We're the first to go.
First to go, absolutely.
We're the first to go. Ruled by multi-CEOs.
Yeah. They and there's also a bunch of CEOs that actually want us to fall because they want to enact techno-feudalism.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been having to research this shit for work. I get it.
I refuse to believe that anyone who wears a MAGA hat or supports anything of that nature loves this country.
I think they actively want this country to fall because it falling is financially better for them.
For them.
People are telling us to
totally lucrative.
bring American flags to protests instead of waving other flags, and I say fuck that. You know why?
Until it represents you.
Look, I think the American flag has been co-opted by the right to mean something that it was never supposed to mean.
Oh, yeah.
And as long as it does that, like I just said when I was burning the flag, as long as it does that, I'm
Casualties.
absolutely. And we know that the IDF doesn't care about civilian casualties.
Nope.
Prior to whatever they said in November of last year, obviously it's not true. The Israeli media is not even trying at this point to hide that. We know 64% of the Israeli public believes that every single man, woman, and child in Gaza
Is a terrorist.
is a terrorist and deserves to die. So,
Well, what's funny
as long
is
as they're
back
funding
here-
that, fuck that flag.
Back during 9/11, we got fed the same propaganda about Afghanistan.
Yeah,
We got
yeah.
the exact same stuff about they're child combatants.
During the Iraq
We got
War,
all
too.
of that here too.
Benjamin Netanyahu sat in front of the Senate Judiciary, the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee, and he said, if you take down Saddam, it'll make the Middle East safer, and guess what happened? It made it less safe. So
Yeah.
no, I refuse to believe that sending trillions of dollars to Israel is going to make the Middle East safer. What's going to make the Middle East safer is if Israel isn't there. That's just it. That's what I believe. Israel, there's no such thing in international law as the right of a state to exist. As we heard Francesca Albanese say, the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in Palestine, right? We know that there's no such concept in international law as the right of a state to exist. Israel does exist. It's a member of the UN, right? But that doesn't mean that they have a right, an absolute right to exist. And in the same way that I don't believe that this country, in its current form, has the right to exist. Absolutely not, right? And so what we're doing in DC and around the country, what you saw millions of people do today, is say that we have the right, as the Constitution says, to alter or abolish our current form of government, right? And so I think as we go on, as we see the more the damage that the Trump regime is doing, I think we're going to end up having to take more drastic measures, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. I don't have any kind of special information, but
also shouldn't say whatever those are on camera.
absolutely not.
No,
You know,
but you know what? There are people in the Trump admin that really like the term. They're clean on OPSEC.
and look,
Weird.
I think what we did in 1776 can be done again, and that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, so there's obviously more to this conversation that happens, but that's basically the gist of what most of that conversation ended up being. There's live VOD over on my Twitch if you would like to see the entirety of the conversation, but we're going to move on to more of the events of the day. Now, I did end up walking around and finding all of these really, really young people buying pink fucking MAGA hats. It feels so awful seeing them get indoctrinated that early, but it is what it is. There's no real way around it other than just kind of being sad and trying to inform. My stream cut out at this point, and so I had to go ahead and get another stream set up right about here. So, at this point, I'm like, okay, I can't find a group of people protesting, and I can't find a group of right-wingers, so what's the plan here? So I start walking around the fence, just following the goddamn fence that seems to go on forever and ever and ever and ever, and we just keep following this fence. We are just following the fence, and then we loop around. Now, where in the world did we end up going from here? I don't actually remember off the top of my head. Ah, here we are. So, I started finding a crowd right about here. I couldn't tell what this crowd was here for, but I figured, okay, we're near a giant crowd. This is surely the area that I'm trying to be at. This is surely where I am wanting to be. It's another way of teaching them not to think and not to read, but to take the cues and Liz Chris says, until you found a line to cut in. So, I know a little bit of human psychology. Not a ton, but I know that when people start forming a line, other people will stand behind them in the line for really no damn good reason. They'll just do it. Huh, there's a line here. Why is there a line here? That's weird. I don't know why there's a line here. But there's people. Sure, why not? So let's go ahead and just run through. I guess one of the benefits of having a camera is nobody really questions you as you're, walking through this shit. Nobody stopped me. Just kind of went through. And then we get up here. We're just going and going and going. Nothing major going on here. And then I find this guy. Here we are. Ow.
He shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur, and he shall nominate, and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors. Other public ministers and
So it's very hard to hear what he's saying because megaphones and the microphone on the phone do not mix very well. But he's effectively just literally telling people our amendments, our Constitution, and how the law works. And we start finding, okay, cool. Seems like a good guy. That's what I find here. Seems like a pretty cool guy. I decide to get back in the line, and that's when this woman appears. This is MAGA Super Karen. Let's see when the first statements from MAGA Super Karen begin.
We're about halfway.
Stay here with me, please.
Mom, we're about halfway.
Need a pat around the mic? Unfortunately, I can't.
Yeah, that looks miserable. Him yelling, having to yell at people who aren't listening.
Okay, so the first statement she makes, and this is what clues me into MAGA Karen, aside from the fact that her family ends up having a little bit of MAGA regalia, is the fact that she talks about the protester, saying, that just looks miserable, yelling into the mic, people not listening. Like, man, he has a cause he believes in, and he's doing his best. It's not the worst thing in the world. So we keep going, and I'm just behind this family the whole time. Now, when I tell you that this line goes on forever, I'm going to start clicking 30 seconds ahead. And we're going to see how far this goes. Now, the footage starts getting really choppy here. Apologies for that. Can't do anything about that. But listen to her. So she spends this entire time bitching and moaning about people cutting in front. Havoc the Wendigo says, Cult Karen, thank you very much for resubscribing. I appreciate it. But she basically just starts complaining about people cutting. And my chat just kind of notes how long this goes on stream. So let's keep skipping ahead.
Twitch, we have about 30 less than that.
Just keep skipping ahead.
To go to Six Flags.
This is the line that never ends. I'm holding a heavy tripod with a camera on it the whole time. Camera's a phone. The tripod has most of the weight, but I'm literally just walking this thing the entire time. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. Man. Just keep going. I'm gonna skip ahead like 2 minutes. And we're still in the line. We're still going. Skip ahead another couple minutes. Still in the line. Still going. Let's go another couple minutes. Still going. But this is where we can see the security tents now.
How's it going, Artemis?
So these are the security tents where they start checking people's bags and checking their belongings to make sure that they do not have any contraband. Now, let's go ahead and get something out of the way. I had no idea this was here. I had no idea this was going to be a thing here. You see, when I think of a parade, I think of like Mardi Gras, where you stand on the side of a street and you watch it happen. And then you celebrate it happening, and then you go get drinks and food afterwards. That's my idea of a parade. I wasn't aware that Trump's idea of a parade is to have an entire fucking security system to make sure that nobody could do anything anywhere near it of any kind whatsoever. I wasn't aware that Trump's idea of a parade required so much goddamn security, despite the fact that he imported tanks from a bunch of other states. I wasn't aware that when you have a parade, you need to make sure that people can't bring some of the most dangerous items of all time with you. And you're going to hear what one of the most dangerous items of all time is here in a minute. So, step forward even more. Here we go. Okay, straight down.
Take this in, right? If I leave it here, is there a chance I can come back and get it, or is it just like you can leave it outside while all the residents guys, come on down and in for me, okay?
Metal bottles, no.
So let's pick a line to be in. Give me a second. There we go. Why did that go down? Stop. So, not a whole lot happening here other than just kind of being here. And then security.
Sir.
Not going to allow that in here, okay?
Not going to allow tripod in?
No, not that
Okay.
long of one.
Okay, most tripods are about that long, but all right. Well.
Now,
Nope, I just can't go in.
an interesting thing to note that the camera does not check. At the time that he tells me that, the old man who was in front of me just points over to me and says something. I was hoping my camera would catch what he said, because I have no idea what he actually said at all. I was hoping that my camera did get pointed over to the old man so that I could verify what he said in hindsight, but I had no idea. Now, there is a point against me. There's a point against me. So while it is weird that we're not going to allow a tripod in here, especially not one of that length, and like most tripods are that length unless they are tiny handheld things, there was a list of contraband that was put out prior to. Now, I know that I was not the only person who didn't read this list of contraband because nobody in the fucking line knew about it. Because people kept on having their bottles taken away from them. So, no aerosols, makes sense. Nobody should be able to have access to a flamethrower. No animals other than service or guide animals. I don't understand this one. We're watching a parade. Why can't I bring my fucking dog? Ammunition. Okay, I understand that. Backpacks, bags, and soft-sided coolers. Exceeding 7 inches deep, 13 inches wide, and 18 inches tall. My backpack exceeds those parameters. So, I had a hunch on stream that even if I abandoned my tripod, I would have to abandon all of my equipment. Hundreds of dollars of equipment from my bag, which includes multiple batteries, multiple wires, my solar panel, my lavalier system, and of course, my tripod and all of its bits and bobs. None of that would have been allowed in because my backpack did not meet the size restrictions, apparently. No bicycles. I don't understand that one, but I mean, whatever. No explosives. Yeah, that makes sense. No drones. Makes sense. No hard-sided coolers. I don't know if you've ever been to a parade, but bringing a fucking cooler and drinking stuff at the parade is a pretty normal thing to do. No folding chairs. Yeah, I sincerely hope that nobody at all needs to be able to sit. I sincerely hope there was nobody who had any walking issues that was there. I hope not. No laser pointers, no knives, no mace or pepper spray. No mace or pepper spray. We just really like women being raped, I guess. No multi-tools, no packages. Well, I mean, mine's tiny, so I guess it wouldn't have mattered anyway. No rangefinders, no razors, no recreational motorized mobility devices, no selfie sticks. No signs exceeding their size restrictions here. No structures. No supports for signs or placards. No toy guns. No tripods. No umbrellas that have a metal tip. No weapons of any kind. And any other items that are determined to be potential safety hazards. So, not only would the contents of my bag likely be seen as problematic, but my bag itself was not able to come with me. Fennec says they had bleachers that don't have back support, bleachers that have limited seating, bleachers that will fill up from the biggest, best parade of all time to celebrate the best military in the entire world. Just bring the clothes on your back, I suppose. Paige says the only other parades with this level of control before seeing them are the ones in Disneyland and Disney World. Yeah. This is restrictive as shit. Now, I decided to look at this because one person in my comment section on the video that Guitar Rocker put together showing the tripod incident called me out saying, like, you should have known. You get mad at people for not being informed, and you didn't decide to get informed yourself. And you know what, random person who I'm not going to name so you don't get the benefit of feeling good about yourself on this one, but you'll know I'm talking to you because I commented to you on my comment section. You're right. I should have been more informed before the event. But when I think of going to a fucking parade, the last thing I'm thinking about is the myriad of contraband and security protocol. And the last thing I'm thinking about, the last, people I'm thinking need all this security are the fucking military. What am I going to do with a tripod? Solo a tank? So, I end up leaving, because my options, my ultimatum basically, are abandon hundreds of dollars of equipment that I can't afford to replace, or leave. And so I do. Now, the plan had morphed from go to a protest, to be part of a protest, to talk with right-wingers at the parade while they're watching the parade. And of course, at various levels during this, each of those plans got shot down. And so I just kind of chilled in this field and talked to stream for a couple hours. There was a grand total of one family that went into this field with a set of MAGA hats on. And aside from the dad and mom, everybody else there was far too young for me to really worry with. Let me see if I can find them. I think this is them right there. No. There was a family somewhere. There were these guys. Man, that image quality is choppy as fuck.
That's where you just kind of look at him and go, you have a fucking tank. Why are you scared of a bottle of water? What the fuck is wrong with you?
There's a couple of people here who were there for a protest. But God, the image quality is choppy as hell.
I had a small...
Yeah, the video feed is very, very glitchy. After this point, it's mostly just sitting around and hanging out in New York. Not New York, but Washington, D.C. Every single plan basically got derailed as they happened. So I decided to just experience the city with stream. We kind of went on a date together, basically. All of us. As a family. Felt weird. I don't know if I want to do it again. And, well, we got to have this fun liminal space experience. Here. It's back this way. Hey, look, there's me eating, thing to note. If you're going to a protest, always pack liquid and snacks. In here, I've got cans of soda. I've got body armor, not energy drinks, but it's like coconut water, basically, for hydration. And I've got snacks. And my God, I look fat as fuck here. Well, I'll be going to the gym again tomorrow. Said body armor, it's a brand of drink. It's a brand of drink. But here.
Yes, it's in the title, right?
Here's your fun, creepy liminal space experience. Just... aside from a handful of pockets of people, street's just kind of empty. Street's just kind of empty. So then we end up just talking with Chad a bit, getting in the metro station again, and that's about it. That was my time in DC. I had a fun time. I didn't have the time I was expecting to have. I guess I get to say that members of the United States military, respected as they are afraid of tripods? Or Trump's afraid of tripods? I don't know. One of the members of this group is a pussy. And I think maybe it's Corporal Bone Spurs. So, unless you want to watch me just ride a variety of subway trains in order to get home, well, in order to get back to my friend's house and then go home. Don't know what to tell you. Oh, also, I found out that you're not allowed to have a tripod set up in the metro station of DC. That was also weird. That felt strange. I don't know why that rule is there, but it's I had an officer come up to me and tell me I'm not allowed to have a tripod set up, so lesson learned there. Paige says, it's the hollow legs. They can be used to store weapons. Then they can check it at the security detail where they're obviously checking everybody's bags anyway. They can take apart my fucking tripod as far as I care. They can search everything I've got. Whatever, I've been through the TSA. And well, the rest of that is just me on a subway train. Jet says, pretty sure there was a No Kings protest in DC too. Not a fully set up one. But anyway, that was my Washington DC experience. That was my time being there, meeting multiple colorful faces, and having, well, not the blast I was expecting, but definitely a blast. Definitely a blast. Paige says, wouldn't that kind of damage it? At this point, I don't fucking care. Like, at this point, we're doing the perfectionist pedantic thing, and I'm not engaging with it anymore. So, there's where we're at. There's where we're at. I still do not know the true origins of that image and whose motivating factor was there to try to get people to come out and physically stop the military vehicles. I'm not 100% certain. I'd like to know, to see what their plan actually was, but I doubt I'll ever get that specific information from the original creator. What I can say, though, is in all of this, I got to go to the nation's capital. I got to talk to a couple of people who were very fired up about not liking what our administration is doing. And I got to watch a right-wing Karen talk about how miserable leftists must be for, you know, speaking about things they're passionate about. And that was certainly an experience in and of itself. The lessons I'm taking from this largely are ones about planning and ones about trying to make sure that I have more information going into a situation. I'm the kind of person who's used to brute forcing almost every situation I find myself in. And sometimes that just doesn't work. It doesn't mean I'm going to not continue to do so, though. I figure it makes more sense to do things and fail and learn from the failures than it does to spend all of your time in pre-planning and then not actually execute anything. So, what do you think? I wanted to let you guys know everything that happened during that particular part of the DC trip. Y'all funded me doing it, and I appreciate every single one of you for doing so. That means everything to me. It really does. Not only can I not do what I do on my channel without the help from all of you, but I can't do any of this extra stuff without y'all's help. So, thank you. It really means the world to me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. hit the like button if you haven't already, and, well, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full-time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravelern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press, though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.